Okay, so let's get started. Again, this meeting is being recorded. Make sure to mute yourself as we move through. So today we're going to talk about an overview of the evaluation tools we'll be using in fiscal year 2018 for the SNAP-Ed statewide evaluation. I'm Nora Downs. I coordinate the statewide evaluation for SNAP-Ed. That's my email there below. And again, just to reiterate, this is being recorded. Today we're going to talk about the direct education tools for fiscal year 2018. We'll go into a little bit about how to introduce evaluation tools. We'll talk about how to proctor evaluation tools, provide some tips there, and then we'll wrap up by talking about how that we on the evaluation team are going to use the results of the direct education evaluation tools. So first, we'll jump right into direct education evaluation tools. Before I advance the slides, I just want to give you a little information about how we chose the evaluation tools. First, we looked at, are these tools validated or reliability tested? And that means, do these tools ask the questions that we in SNAP-Ed or the researchers who created these tools want them to ask? Do students or participants interpret it the same way as the researcher? And when tools have been reliability or validity tested, that's what it means. It means that the participant and the researchers interpret the tools the same way. So we'll jump right in. This is the evaluation tool we'll use in 2018 for K through second grades. This has been practice tested. It was created by for FNEP, the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program, and you'll use it with kindergarten through second grade curricula. You can find a list over on the right, and there's also a complete list that I've created. You can get in touch with your implementing agency or me for to get that. So that's the K-2 tool. We'll go more into depth on this tool in a little bit. And again, we're going to have a training on every evaluation tool later on in this first quarter of fiscal year 2018. So next we'll move on to this third grade tool. This is the FNEP third to fifth grade nutrition education survey. You will only use this for third graders. I want to call out that if you have a class that is mixed grades with either second and third graders or third and fourth graders, please do not use this tool and instead use the K-2 tool for classes that have second and third graders, or the fourth through eighth tool if you have a class with third and fourth graders. Please make sure to note that it's a third grader taking this tool. This tool has also been practice tested. Okay, well, let's see. I realized, thank you. There was a glitch, so I'm just going to quickly show this tool before. This was the K-2 evaluation tool. Here, it's this FNEP Eat Well and Move tool. And here's the third grade tool. Okay, so now we'll move on to the fourth through eighth grade tool. This is the Kids Activity and Nutrition Questionnaire. It was created by Arizona, their SNAP-Ed team. They practice tested and validity and reliability tested this evaluation tool. If you have a mixed age class with third graders, please make sure they mark this number 2 question with third. It doesn't prove as reliable with third graders. That's exactly why we need to know that there's a third grader who took it, so we can look at their data and see if it makes sense or if we know if we need to throw it away. You'll use it with the curricula listed on the left here. Next, we have this evaluation tool, the FNEP 9th through 12th grade nutrition education survey for older youth. You'll use this with Rethink Your Drink, Super Tracker, Choose Health Action Teens, Kids in the Kitchen. Most of the curricula you'll teach with older youth, except for if you're in that Plan, Shop, Save, Cook pilot, in which case you'll use the Plan, Shop, Save, Cook checklist that's available on the curriculum team's website. That is a deal we made with California, so we could try this pilot with older youth for Plan, Shop, Save, Cook. Now we're moving right on into evaluation tools for adults. This is our new physical activity questionnaire. We're not going to do the IPAC anymore. This has been reliability and validity tested through the FNEP group. And these 3 physical activity questions are the only questions we're going to ask from this questionnaire. These were tested separately, so we are really comfortable only giving these 3 questions. It's available in English and Spanish, and I'm hoping that it's a much easier tool for physical activity assessment with adults than we used in the past. You'll use this with all curricula, adult curricula that have a physical activity component. And you'll also use it with Family Gardening and Energize Your Life. Family Gardening is a curriculum that is new to Washington in fiscal year 2018, and Energize Your Life has an emerging science base. So we really want to make sure that these are teaching to their outcomes, what they say their subjects are in the curriculum as we get these off the ground in Washington. Next, for adults, we're going to use the food behavior checklist. You'll use this with all adult curricula, including Plan, Shop, Save, Cook for adults. This is the same tool we used in fiscal year 2017. For Family Gardening and Energize Your Life, these are the 2 exceptions to the food behavior checklist. So for Family Gardening and Energize Your Life, you'll use the fruit and vegetable checklist. We are still waiting to get this in our office. So if you don't have this right now, feel free to use the food behavior checklist until this arrives, or if you don't have either, that's okay too. Hold off until they come. But for these 2 curricula, please use the fruit and vegetable checklist and energize the fruit and vegetable checklist and the food and physical activity questionnaire from FNEP. There are some other evaluation tools that I didn't talk about in a lot of detail. The Plan, Shop, Save, Cook checklist for older youth. That is a checklist you'll use only. Don't know what happened there. This Plan, Shop, Save, Cook checklist, that's the checklist you'll use only with older youth when you teach Plan, Shop, Save, Cook. There is a teacher evaluation tool for Marty Moose. This is brand new, and you can find it on the curriculum team's website. This is not the teacher evaluation tool that has been used with Marty Moose in the past. We'll have a session on this, and again, you can find this on the curriculum team's website. Eat Fit will also have its own evaluation tool because it is new to Washington this fiscal year. You can get in touch with me or the curriculum team to find that. For Cooking Matters, that already has its own pretty robust survey. So if you're teaching Cooking Matters, and that's the series, not the one-time events, please use the Cooking Matters tool. If you're doing a one-time event, you do not need to do a pre or post test because there's no way to measure behavior change from 2 hours from now. We don't know that habits have changed. Okay, so I'm going to pause and look in the chat box and see if there are any questions on evaluation tools. Please remember that we will have a webinar on all of the evaluation tools as we move forward. So feel free to hold off on questions on evaluation tools till then, or just type something into the chat box, and I'll pause for a second. Okay, no questions yet, but please don't hesitate to type a question into the chat box if you have questions. So now we'll move on to how to introduce evaluation tools. So first, why is it important to introduce your evaluation tools in a really consistent way? Because that can influence how completely and how honestly your participants will answer that evaluation tool, which can impact how the kind of data we get and what we have to work with at our end. So some great suggestions are to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Nora from the Washington State Department of Health. I'm here to talk to you today about why we're doing this, about why food and nutrition. And we're going to do this evaluation tool to learn more about your habits. There are no right or wrong answers. Really be honest. That's kind of the gist. So introduce yourself, explain why you're going to do an evaluation. We want to learn more. We want to learn how we are doing. We want to learn if this curriculum works, things like that. Use neutral and positive language. If you use negative language, it can really influence how well and how completely your participants will answer a question. And I know that some people really want to do well on a pre or post test. Really emphasize that there's no right or wrong answers. The right answer is what you actually do, whether you either in the beginning, whether you eat a lot of fruits or vegetables or you don't, answer that. The same thing at the end. In the post test, if you don't see any change in yourself, that's the right answer. Don't try to please us, is a great tip for some folks. And it also leads into that attitude thing, the attitude and the neutral language. Feel free to clarify questions and give examples. I have an example of an example in a minute. And remind your participants that there are no right or wrong answers. Please have them raise their hands and try not to talk to each other. Just as we don't want to influence our participants' answers, we don't want other participants to influence each other's answers either. So here's an example. Hi, my name is Nora. I work for the Washington State Department of Health SNAP-Ed Nutrition Education Program, and today I need your help. I am going to pass out this 6-question survey. So the 6-question survey that we have is the K-2 Eat Well and Move survey. And this will help me learn about how you eat and how you play. Please be honest. There are no right or wrong answers. You're not being graded. Please don't talk with the other students, and do raise your hand if you have a question. I will read every question out loud and you will mark your answers on the survey. So it's a quick introduction. There's a couple of surveys that we have that have instructor or proctor guides to go along with it and may have a sample introduction in there for you. Next, we'll move on to an example. So here's an example from the 4th through 8th grade survey, the Kids Activity and Nutrition Questionnaire, or the CAN-Q. This example is a question from Elena, and it is in reference to this question number 4 on the right. Did you eat any white macaroni, noodles, bread, tortillas, rice? So it's a question about refined white grains. So Elena said that she had whole grain toast with jelly, macaroni and cheese, and a chicken quesadilla and a flour tortilla. So when she's answering how many times she ate white refined grains, what would she answer? Well, she had that whole grain toast, so that doesn't count as a white grain. So that's a 0. But then she had macaroni, and that counts as a refined grain, a white grain. And she had the flour tortilla, which is also a white grain. So then she would count that, yes, she ate one of these foods 2 times yesterday. So that's how you answer this question, and it's a quick way to give an example. and it helps to give an example for every kind of question you may encounter. But it can be different. It will be different for every survey. So next we're going to move on to how to proctor evaluation tools. There are 3 methods that I like to reference. There's the guiding method, the reinforcement method, and the self-directed method. I really encourage folks to use the guiding method and the reinforcement method in SnapEd. And as we go through it, it may become more clear why. So first is the guiding method. In this method, the educator reads every question and every answer option. It works really well for younger participants and low literacy participants because you go through every question and every answer, so it's pretty easy to figure out where you are on that page. So here's an example from the instructor guide from the Eat Well and Move survey. So the example is, question 1 is about being active and moving your body. Can you find question 1? And you would point to the picture, you'd hold up a copy of the survey, and then you'd say that they're pictures of a girl swinging, a boy riding his bike, a girl watching TV, and a girl playing on her computer. Circle pictures that show kids being active. You can circle as many pictures as you think are kids being active and moving their bodies. There may be more than one. So then it can help to read the question again, or the answer choices again after you say circle kids being active. Again, there are pictures of a girl swinging, a boy riding his bike, a girl watching TV, and a girl playing on her computer. And it can help, once you finish reading the question, you scan the room and you can see how far, if people have finished, how far they've gotten, and then you can move on to the next question. So that is an example of the guiding method. And this guiding method is required for this K-2 survey. Even though there are lots of great pictures, not all kids in kindergarten through 2nd grade can read. And we see wildly different responses from when we have someone reading every question out loud to when kids just take the survey on their own. So the guiding method is required for this K-2 survey. Next, we're going to talk about the reinforcement method. In the reinforcement method, you read through some of the questions, generally about 1 question per type of question, and it works well in most populations. Participants are freer to go faster if they want, and because you're going through a subset of questions at a time versus all of the questions at a time, you have more opportunities to provide answers to questions, to provide examples, which ultimately may reduce the number of clarifying questions you get. So that can be really helpful. Here's an example of the reinforcement method. You just ask so this is the first question on that 9 to 12 survey. Yesterday, how many times did you eat vegetables, not counting French fries? You can include cooked vegetables, canned vegetables, and salads. If you ate 2 different vegetables in a meal or snack, you can count them as 2 times. The answers are none, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, or 4 or more times. Then you can go into some examples here and you can say, well, if you ate a big salad with lots of different kinds of vegetables, you can count that as 2 or 3 times. But if you ate something like soup that only had one kind of vegetable in it, or fried rice that only had little bits, and so you ended up only taking a couple of bites of vegetables, you can count that as 1 time, or even if it was just 1 bite, maybe no times. So you can go into some more specifics here as you do the reinforcement method, and so that can be really helpful. The last method is the self-directed method. Participants work independently after hearing the introduction and examples that you provide at the beginning. This can work well with older youth, but again, I really encourage the reinforcement and guiding methods because they tend not to single out folks who may not understand as well, and you still may get a lot of questions. And if you don't there may just be people who are too shy to ask questions. So that's part of the reason why the reinforcement and the guiding method can be very helpful and useful. So here are some tips, some do's and don'ts. Do allow enough time to complete the evaluation tool. I know this can be a struggle with tight schedules and tight timelines. Sometimes if you have the ability, it can be really useful to add an extra class at the beginning or end, or the beginning and end of your direct education series to allow enough time to complete the evaluation tool. Just make sure to do your pre-test before any nutrition education has happened and your post-test after you're done with your direct education series, so that we really measure the full effect of that curriculum. Do feel free to clarify and repeat instructions. If people have questions, you definitely should answer them. Read the pre and post test aloud if needed. If people struggle to understand, if you're with K to second graders or a low literacy population, use that guiding method. It's always a great method. And then finally, define or translate words. Don't answer questions for your participants, but definitely if people have questions or if they speak a language that isn't English or Spanish, it can be really helpful to translate or define words so folks can understand the question. And then don't show favoritism for a particular response. And I know this can be such a struggle for us in nutrition education. We get so excited when people eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, do physical activity. But again, we really want the participants' honest response. What do they actually do? So try to use that neutral language. Please don't allow participants to confer about questions. So just like we don't want to influence our participants' responses, we don't want other participants to influence other folks' responses as well. So really try to have folks raise their hands if they have questions and work independently if possible. And then also try not to single out participants who struggle to understand a question. Like I said before, that's where the guiding method can really come in handy, where you move slowly and allow time to answer every question. So next, we're going to talk about considerations for young participants and low literacy participants. And I know I've been saying this over and over, but really use that guiding method. It can be a great method to improve understanding of the questions on the survey. That means you read through every question and every answer on the pre and post tool. You go through slowly to allow time for clarifying questions. And after every question, that also means that you look up and you see who's finished and who seems like they're struggling. And then you can repeat questions as needed. So now we're going to move into ID numbers. I know this can be a little bit confusing. First off, participants don't necessarily need to have an ID number on the survey that they take. As long as you black out those ID numbers, so or the names or school ID number, some other identifier that you choose, so that we at the state level can't see it, that's perfectly fine. But here's the methodology. First is your region number. You should know your region number. If you don't, reach out to your implementing agency. Your implementing agency will also assign that local agency code that's 2 digits. And then you will assign that student code. So I would suggest that if for student codes, it can be helpful to have a subset of student codes for every direct education class you're going to teach, so that you don't know that you don't have any overlap. One student should have the same code at the same ID number for the pre-test and the post-test. But if that one student is in 2 different direct education series, they may have 2 different ID numbers, and that is okay. So a little checklist for after class. Do the surveys have SNAP-Ed ID numbers? That's the ID numbers I talked about on the slide before. If they don't, make sure to change the names or school ID numbers to the SNAP-Ed ID number, and make sure to black out the name or ID number so we don't see them here. Every survey that you ultimately, all of this rolls up into telling the story of SNAP-Ed in Washington State. We really want to see what we're doing and how great the work that we're doing is, so we can showcase that. So that's all I have. I will get this recording over to our folks over in communications so that a recording will be available. And if you would like the link to it, it should be available within the next couple of weeks. So ask your implementing agency for that. If you have questions, you can please email your questions to your implementing agency and CC me. And now I'm going to open it up to questions again. I see a question here. One question around Plant Shop Save Cook for older youth. Someone is planning on doing Plant Shop Save Cook for older youth starting very soon. And the training isn't scheduled until December. Should they wait to administer the pre-test? Are there any workarounds? Yes, there are workarounds. Get in touch with me and we can schedule a one-on-one training so that we can make sure that they have the information they need before then so that they can administer that pre-test. Okay. I will stick around for another couple of minutes if there are any questions, but I am going to stop recording now. Oh, one more. Will trainings be posted to the Communication Hub as well? Yes, when that's launched, that's the plan, to have links to all of the trainings on that Communication Hub on the provider side. Okay, so I am going to stop recording. Thank you all, and if you have any questions, please get in touch with me, and I will do my best to answer. Thank you.